to have you back at Mr. Horror Global. Tonight's story comes from my friend Daniel, about the summer he spent volunteering in a village he made me promise never to name, and the 3 rules its people gave him on his first night there. Viewer discretion advised. The White Sash. Let me tell you about my friend Daniel, and the summer he spent in a village I am not allowed to name. He made me promise 2 things before he told me any of it. Change every name, and never say where the village is, not the province, not the nearest town, not even which highway you would take to get close. I asked him why it mattered. All these years later, he was quiet for a second, and then he said that some things find you by your details. So the details are gone. Everything else happened the way I am about to tell it. In the summer of 2009, Daniel was a 3rd-year student at a university in a big city, and like a lot of students back then, he signed up for the Rural Service Program, 3 weeks in a farming village. You teach the kids in the afternoons, you paint the community hall, you help the county survey the wells and the water lines, and you get a line on your resume and a little credit toward graduation. 6 of them went together: Daniel, his friend Vincent, who could talk his way into or out of anything, a girl named Clara, who Vincent had been circling all spring, a 4th year who was their team leader, and 2 other girls from the education department. 6 kids, 2 duffel bags each, and a box of donated notebooks. The village was 4 hours southeast by intercity bus, past the last toll gate, and then another hour on a county shuttle that ran twice a day on a road that stopped being paved about halfway. Daniel said the moment he remembers best from the trip in was the shuttle driver. When the team leader told him the name of the village, the driver looked at the 6 of them in his mirror for a long moment before he pulled out. Didn't say anything, just looked. The village itself sat at the very end of a valley, maybe 40 houses, rice paddies below, and behind everything a mountain, steep and dark with pine, that closed the valley off like a hand cupped around a candle. There was no cell signal except one bar you could sometimes catch on the ridge road, and the phones back then were flip phones anyway, good for calls and not much else. Daniel's had a voice recorder on it. Remember that. The village head put them up in an empty house near the community hall. A good house, wood floors, a well pump in the yard. He was a broad, careful man in his 60s, and the first evening, before he let them unpack, he gave them the rules. Daniel said he gave them the way you give safety rules at a factory. Flat, practiced. There were 3. 1. The path behind the village goes up the mountain, and about 10 minutes up there are 2 carved wooden posts, old guardian posts with faces cut into them, standing on either side of the trail. You do not go past the posts after sundown, not for any reason. 2. If you hear music at night, you stay inside. You do not open the window on the mountainside of the house, and you do not go looking for it. 3. You will see small bowls of cooked rice set out on the back steps of the houses at dusk. You leave them alone. You don't touch them. You don't move them, and you don't ask the old people about them. The students laughed about it later that night, quietly, the way you do. Vincent said the rice was obviously for stray cats, and the rest of it was obviously for keeping college kids from wandering off a cliff in the dark. That became the joke of the first week, cat rules. The work was real though, and honestly Daniel said the first week was one of the best weeks of his life. Mornings on the water survey with the county's photocopied maps, marking wells and spring boxes, afternoons at the community hall with 15 village kids and the donated notebooks. Evenings, somebody's grandmother would send over food and they would eat in the yard under a bug light. There was an old caretaker, a thin man who looked after the paths, and every single morning Daniel would see him at the mouth of the mountain trail with a twig broom, sweeping, always sweeping downhill to uphill, pushing the dust up the trail toward the posts, which Daniel thought was a strange way to sweep, and then didn't think about again. One more thing from that first week, and I want you to hold on to it. The village kids had a game, a circle dance they did in the dirt lot by the hall with a little song. Daniel noticed that no matter where the circle drifted, the kids always kept their backs to the mountain. If the circle rotated, they would shuffle and break step to fix it. He asked one of the boys about it, and the boy said that's just how you do it, and looked at Daniel like he'd asked why you don't eat soup with your hands. The music came on the fourth night. Daniel woke a little after 1 in the morning and lay there trying to figure out what had woken him, and then he had it. A drum, slow, patient, a deep double beat coming from up the mountain, and under it something small and bright, a gong the size of a plate, and under that, faint as rain on leaves, bells. It wasn't loud. That was the thing he kept saying. It wasn't loud, but it was close, the way a voice on the other side of a door is close. He got his phone, pressed record, and held it up to the gap in the window frame on the mountainside for a full 90 seconds. Then the music stopped between one drum beat and the next, no fade, just done. And he lay back down with his heart going and eventually slept. In the morning he played the file for the others at breakfast. 90 seconds of wind and his own breathing and nothing else. Vincent laughed at him and Daniel laughed too, because what else do you do? But when the village head stopped by to check the day's schedule, Daniel mentioned it, joking, music on the mountain, some festival we weren't invited to. The village head did not ask what it sounded like. He did not ask what time. He looked at the 6 of them, one by one, and said, "Which of you opened the window on the mountainside?" Nobody had. He nodded slowly, told them to keep it that way, and left. Daniel said the joke about cat rules got told a little less after that morning. They rationalized it, of course. Sound does strange things in a closed valley. A radio in a farmhouse up some logging road. Daniel half believed the recording thing was a problem with his cheap phone mic. The work went on. And I should tell you now about the survey, because this is where it started, even though none of them knew it yet. The county map showed a spring up the mountain, an old one, marked with a symbol none of the newer wells had. When the team leader asked the village head about surveying it, the village head said the spring was off their list. Not dangerous, not far, just off the list. Right, inaccessible. The team leader wrote inaccessible, but Vincent had seen the map, and Vincent was Vincent. And Daniel found out much later that in the middle of the second week, on a bright, harmless afternoon, Vincent had taken Clara up past the twin posts to find it. Daylight, he figured. The rule was about after dark. The second thing happened about 10 days in. Daniel woke around 3 in the morning needing the toilet, which was out in the yard, and when he stepped down from the porch, he saw Clara standing in the middle of the yard in her sleeping clothes, barefoot, facing the mountain. Her right arm was curved up over her head, and her left was stretched out level with her shoulder, the wrist bent back, fingers arranged, a pose, held perfectly still, the way you hold still in the middle of a movement, not at the end of one. Her eyes were open. He said her name, and she didn't respond. He said it again, louder, and her outstretched hand turned over, slowly, wrist leading, a movement so smooth and practiced, it frightened him more than anything else that night. And then she woke up all at once and nearly screamed. She had no memory of getting up. And here is the detail Daniel could not explain away, though God knows he tried. Her feet were muddy to the ankle. Wet mud, dark, streaked up over the ankle bone. The yard was swept dirt, dry as paper. It hadn't rained in 6 days. Clara was embarrassed and shaken, and said she used to sleepwalk as a kid, and that she'd done traditional dance for 2 years in middle school, so maybe some muscle memory, some stress dream. Everyone agreed loudly that that was it. The girls started sleeping with Clara between them. And the routine reasserted itself the way it does. Lesson plans and well surveys and grandmother's side dishes. And for a few days the summer almost went back to being the best of Daniel's life. Except Vincent was changing, and Daniel was the only one positioned to see it because they shared a room. It came in small pieces. Vincent stopped eating breakfast, said he wasn't hungry in the mornings, and Vincent had been a human garbage disposal since first year. A woven band appeared on his left wrist, dull green, tightly braided, and when Daniel asked about it, Vincent said he'd picked it up at the 5-day market in town. Fine. Except Daniel realized weeks later, lying awake in his own apartment in the city, that on market day Vincent had stayed behind with a headache. He never went, and there was a smell in their room in the mornings, faint, that Daniel couldn't place at the time. Pond water, water weeds, and under it something sweet, like flowers going over. Then came the night at the tree line. It was near the end of the second week. Daniel woke at 2, and Vincent's bedding was empty and cold. He told himself outhouse, waited 10 minutes, then took the flashlight and went out. No one in the yard, but up the lane, past the last house, in the moon-gray dark where the fields ended and the trail began, he saw movement, and he walked toward it, and then he stopped walking because he understood what he was looking at. Between the 2 guardian posts, at the mouth of the trail, someone was dancing, a woman in white. He could see the pale shape of her clearly against the black of the pines, and he could see the sash, a long sash, red, so long it should have tangled in her arms and never did. It moved around her like it was underwater, drawing slow shapes that his eyes wanted to follow. There was no music, or, he said, there was no music he could hear, but he could feel a beat somewhere behind his back teeth, in the hinge of his jaw. And walking up the trail toward her, unhurried, in his socks, was Vincent. Daniel shouted his name, and the dancer stopped. Not the way a person stops, settling, catching balance. She stopped, like a film pausing, mid-turn, 1 foot off the ground. And then her head came around to face him before her body did. He does not remember deciding anything after that. He remembers the flashlight was suddenly on the ground, and his hands were full of Vincent's shirt, and he was hauling him back down the lane, and Vincent wasn't fighting him at all. Vincent was smiling, loose and warm, like a man being walked home from a good party. And near the house, Vincent said the sentence Daniel says he will hear for the rest of his life. He said, "You should see the end of it. Nobody ever lets me see the end." Daniel didn't sleep. He lay in the dark with his hands still around the flashlight and listened to his roommate breathing beside him, slow and even, the easy sleep of a man with nothing at all on his mind. And he said that sound frightened him more than the dancer had. In the morning he told the team leader everything, and the team leader, to his credit, went straight to the village head. And this is when the village stopped pretending the students couldn't see what was happening. By that evening there was a rice bowl on their back step, where there had never been one, and the bowls on the neighboring steps had doubled. The old caretaker came with his twig broom and swept a full circle around their house, around it, and then swept the lane, pushing everything uphill, toward the posts, and Daniel finally understood he had been watching the man sweep footprints back up that mountain every morning for 2 weeks. The village head himself came at dusk and nailed a small cloth bundle over their door, coarse salt, wrapped with red thread, and he did it without one word of explanation, and none of them asked for one. 2 days later, Clara collapsed at the community hall in the middle of a lesson. Fever, the kind that soaks the bedding, and in the fever she hummed, in time, on a scale, a melody with a shape to it, the same phrase over and over, and her hands moved on the blanket, wrists turning. The girls stopped sleeping. Someone noticed her hair was damp every morning. The though she hadn't the strength to wash. And Vincent was gone 2 of the next 3 nights entirely, and came back at first light with pine needles in his hair and the smell of the pond on him, and his socks. Daniel swears to this. His socks were clean. A man who walked a dirt mountain trail all night, and his socks were white. The village head put the team leader and the 2 education girls on the morning shuttle and told them not to argue. Daniel he kept, because Daniel had seen her and been seen. Vincent and Clara he kept because, and this is exactly what he said, if those 2 leave now, they leave the way a hook leaves a fish. Then he sent a boy on a motorbike over the ridge and told the 3 of them that the shaman would come in 2 days, and that until then nobody sleeps alone and nobody opens a window after dark. That night, in the village head's kitchen, Daniel got the truth, or as much of it as the village tells. The spring on the county map is hers. She was there before the village was the village. The first families who cleared the valley made an arrangement. The flat land and the water in exchange for the rites, twice a year at the shrine above the spring, and the bowls at dusk, and the posts, and the rules. She keeps to her ground if she is fed and flattered. But, the village head said, and Daniel remembers his exact words, she is allowed whatever comes to her on its own. We do not keep you off that mountain to protect the mountain. She appears as a dancer because a dancer is what she loves and what she takes. The music at night is her practicing or her inviting, and there is no difference between the 2. You never face her. That is why the children dance with their backs to the mountain, why it is in their game before they can read. You never take anything from her water, and you never ever watch her dance to the end, because the dance is a question, and staying for the end of it is your answer. The shaman came on the 2nd day, a small woman past 70, off the back of the motorbike like a sack of millet, and she was in their house maybe 30 seconds before she looked at Clara, sick and grey on her bedding, and said, "Where is it?" Clara didn't ask what she meant. That was the worst part, Daniel said. She just started to cry and reached into her wash bag and took out a hairpin. Jade green, old, a slim pin with a carved head. Vincent had found it in the shallows of the spring that bright, harmless afternoon in the 2nd week, lying on the pebbles in a foot of clear water like it had been dropped that morning. He'd fished it out and given it to Clara that night. A pretty thing for a girl he liked. The shaman turned it over once in a fold of cloth, never touching it with her skin, and said the pin was not lost property. It is what she leaves at the edge of the water. It has been picked up before. Taking from her water makes a debt, and giving what you took to another person does not pay the debt. It spreads it. The mud on Clara's feet, the damp hair, the melody and the fever. Clara had been going up there in her sleep, called through the pin, and something had been walking her back down before dawn and putting her to bed. Then the shaman looked at the green band on Vincent's wrist, and she would not touch that, even with cloth. She had the caretaker cut it off with an iron sickle, and where it had been, the skin was pale and cool and very faintly ridged in a pattern, like something that had been wearing scales. She asked Vincent how many nights he had gone up, and Vincent looked genuinely confused and said he'd only gone in the daytime with Clara to the spring. Those evenings by the water were with Clara, and the room went very still, and Clara said, in a voice Daniel says was smaller than a child's, "I never went up there, not once after the first time." Daniel says nobody spoke because everyone in the room was arriving at the same place at the same moment. Those evenings by the water, whatever had been sitting beside Vincent in the dusk, evening after evening, it had not been Clara. Vincent's face when he understood is something Daniel would not describe to me. He tried twice and stopped both times. The shaman said the 2 debts were not the same size. What was taken can be handed back. What was given cannot. He has been dancing with her for a month, she said, and he stayed for the end of it. Which of you is going to hand back a month? The rite took 2 nights at the shrine above the spring, and Daniel was made to serve at it, kneeling until his legs died under him, holding what he was told to hold, keeping his eyes where he was told to keep them, which was down. He heard drumming from the shaman's side, and he swears an answer from the dark past the shrine, a small gong keeping a different time. The pin went back into the water on the first night, but not alone. The shaman cut Clara's hair off at the scalp, all of it, and the pin went back wrapped in it and bound with red thread, because what was received has to go back carrying something of the receiver, and Clara came out of it with her fever broken and one rule to keep for the rest of her life. She must never dance again. Not at a wedding, not at a festival, not alone in her kitchen with the radio on. Any dance, anywhere, is an answer to a question that is still open. On the second night, the shaman danced opposite the dark for hours. An old woman moving like her joints owed her money, and near dawn she came and sat down heavily next to the village head and told them what could and could not be done. "I can bring the body down the mountain," she said. "The rest of him has been up there too long. I can close the door behind him so that nothing follows him home. That is all I can do, and it is more than she wants to give." They took Vincent back to the city on the county shuttle 2 days later. He was polite and quiet and answered questions and thanked the village head. And he was flat, Daniel said, flat like a photograph of himself. He dropped out that fall. He stopped returning calls in the winter. And late the next spring, his parents found him in the reservoir near their town, in the shallows by the boat ramp, face down with his arms spread out from his shoulders. The report said drowning. The water where they found him was not deep enough to drown a kneeling man. Daniel finished school. Clara finished school. She keeps her hair short to this day, and when she got married a few years back, there was no band and no dancing at the wedding, no music at all, and the guests thought it was strange and nobody explained it to them. Daniel and Clara don't really talk anymore. He says it's not that anything is wrong between them. It's that each of them is the other one's window on the mountainside. He kept his old flip phone when he upgraded, in a drawer with dead chargers and expired batteries, the way we all do. A few years ago, packing to move apartments, he found it, charged it out of curiosity, and played the old file one more time before deleting it. 90 seconds, wind, and his own breathing. And this time far down under the wind, a small gong, keeping time. He didn't delete the file, he took the battery out of the phone and put it back in the drawer, and the drawer moved apartments with him. And one more thing, the last thing he told me, the reason he told me any of it. On the first anniversary of Vincent's death, his mother went out to tend the grave. Lying on the mound, neat as an offering, was a jade green hairpin. She thought it was lovely, and she could not understand why it was wet.